I'm honestly so relieved that Outlander Season 8 is finally diving into one of the most crucial stories from the books, but at the same time, there's a major issue that's hard to ignore. So, let's unpack everything we know so far, because this season might end up being one of the most emotional and complicated ones yet. The trailer for Outlander Season 8, which dropped during San Diego Comic-Con, has everyone buzzing, and not just because it's the show's final chapter. Starz released the teaser along with the confirmation that Season 8 will arrive in early 2026, and fans immediately noticed how much the trailer focused on wrapping up the entire Outlander saga. But while the preview gave us a glimpse of some beloved storylines returning, what it didn't show is what's making a bunch of longtime fans nervous. The beginning of the trailer was a nostalgic trip down memory lane. It opened with a montage of clips from earlier seasons, reminding everyone of Jamie and Claire's incredible love story, from their very first meeting to their wild adventures in France, the Caribbean, and the American colonies. It was basically a highlight reel of every emotional, passionate, and gut-wrenching moment the two have shared. And it really hammered home the idea that this is the last chapter of Starz' epic romantic fantasy saga. But things get interesting toward the end of the trailer when it finally shifts from old footage to fresh scenes from the upcoming episodes. Jamie and Claire look noticeably older now, their hair streaked with gray, and it's clear they've been through a lifetime of battles, both literal and emotional. They're back home at Frasers Ridge, which Season 7 hinted we'd return to, and soon they're joined by Brianna, Roger, and their kids. The whole family's together again, and with them comes a storyline that book readers will immediately recognize. That's because the trailer includes one of the most critical elements from the Outlander novels, Jamie's connection to Frank Randall's book. We see a quiet moment where Jamie sits in bed, reading through a modern history book written by none other than Frank himself. He tells Claire that Frank wrote about how the Revolutionary War affected the people living in the backcountry, especially those at Fraser's Ridge. Then comes the shocking part. Frank's book records that the Ridge's namesake, James Fraser, actually died during the war. For anyone who's read Diana Gabaldon's Go Tell the Bees That I Am Gone, this detail will sound familiar because Frank's discovery and Jamie's supposed death are major parts of that story. It's one of the book series' biggest emotional twists, and it looks like Outlander Season 8 will finally adapt it for the screen. This is a big relief, especially since Season 7 mostly glossed over Frank's book. Sure, Brianna did find it on a shelf at Lallybroch, but the show completely skipped the deeper story that went with it. In the novels, Brianna finds a letter from Frank hidden inside the book, one that reveals he somehow knew Claire would travel back in time again and live out her life with Jamie at Fraser's Ridge. That detail was huge in the books because it showed Frank wasn't just suspicious about Claire's past, he actually understood it. And by publishing his research, it's implied that he wanted Claire and Brianna to one day uncover the truth. So, when the show left that out last season, it made a bunch of fans, myself included, worry that Outlander wouldn't bring this plotline back. It felt like one of those loose threads that might never get tied up. But this trailer proves that the show hasn't forgotten it, though it also raises another big question about what happened to one of Season 7's biggest twists. Because while the trailer finally confirms that Jamie's death from Frank's book will be part of the story, it completely skips over the Faith Fraser storyline, which was a massive cliffhanger at the end of Season 7. If you remember, the finale hinted that Faith, Jamie and Claire's first daughter who died as a baby back in Season 2, might actually have survived. That was a shocking reveal, and one that didn't exist in the books at all. So naturally, everyone assumed Season 8 would focus on uncovering whether Faith was really alive and how that could even be possible. But strangely, the trailer doesn't show or mention Faith at all. It's odd, because you'd expect at least a glimpse of Claire trying to find answers or a scene of Jamie telling her to let it go. Some fans even speculated that we might hear Master Raymond's voice again, hinting at the mysterious time travel elements that have always been part of the series. But instead, Starz kept the focus entirely on the Go Tell the Bees That I Am Gone plotline, almost as if the Faith twist isn't even part of the story anymore. That's what makes me a little worried. Because now, Outlander Season 8 has to juggle two enormous storylines, the canonical one from the books involving Jamie's recorded death, and the new TV-only plot about Faith's possible survival. And with only 10 episodes to tell it all, there's a real risk that neither storyline will get the attention it deserves. The show has never been afraid of complex plots, but time has always been Outlander's biggest enemy, both literally and figuratively. The pacing has been hit or miss in previous seasons, and fitting two major mysteries into a single, shorter final season could be a challenge. On top of that, the series has to give proper endings to every major character. Jamie and Claire, of course, but also Brianna and Roger, Ian and Rachel, Lord John and William, and maybe even Marsali and Fergus if they return. That's a lot to resolve in 10 episodes. The Faith twist also adds emotional weight that just can't be brushed aside. If she really is alive, that revelation changes everything about Claire and Jamie's story, not just as parents, but as people who have endured decades of grief, ignoring what would feel like a huge missed opportunity, especially since Season 7 built it up as such a dramatic turning point. Still, the decision to highlight Frank's book in the trailer shows where the creative team's focus is right now. They clearly want to bring the story full circle, connecting Claire's two lives, her two great loves, and the long history that's always intertwined them. It's poetic in a way, because Frank's research about Jamie's fate feels like the final echo of that love triangle that defined the early seasons. Even though we didn't see any footage of Faith in the teaser, it doesn't necessarily mean her story won't be there. It could just be that Starz wants to keep that part secret for now. After all, Outlander loves a good twist, and saving that reveal for the actual episodes would definitely make the emotional impact stronger. But balancing both arcs, Jamie's fate and Faith's mystery, will take some really careful writing. Because think about it, this season isn't just about wrapping up a story, it's about bringing closure to two lifetimes, Claire's life in the past and her memories of the future. And with Jamie reading Frank's book, we're reminded that time travel in Outlander has always been more than just a sci-fi gimmick. It's about history remembering or misremembering people, and how love survives through all of it. So even though I'm thrilled that Season 8 is adapting Frank's book and giving us the Jamie's death storyline from Go Tell the Bees That I Am Gone, I can't help but worry that the Faith twist might get lost in the shuffle. This final season has to close out 8 seasons worth of emotional arcs, and only has a handful of episodes to do it. If the writers can strike the right balance, though, this could end up being Outlander's most powerful season yet. There's something poetic about Jamie learning his own death has been recorded in history and then fighting to change it. It's the kind of fate versus free will conflict that's been at the heart of this story from the beginning. But that's exactly what makes this such a high-stakes finale. It's not just about survival anymore, it's about legacy, destiny, and whether love can truly rewrite history. So while it's comforting to know that Season 8 is tackling this major book storyline, the fact that it still has to deal with Faith's mystery means there's a lot riding on how these final 10 episodes unfold. If the show pulls it off, we could be looking at a finale that cements Outlander as one of the greats, a sweeping, emotional conclusion that honors both the past and the future. But if it tries to do too much, it risks rushing through the very stories fans have waited years to see. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.